This is the last of 3 videos on the C4 Corvette. In this case, a 1995 automatic with about 80,000 miles on it, where the shifter is very hard to move out of the park position, even if you step on the brake pedal. Now, if you're watching this video, maybe you're having the same problem. It might be helpful to go back and take a look at the first 2 videos. Now, I determined early that in my car, the brake pedal was not causing my problem. So I pulled the shifter out of the car, mounted it to my workbench so I could get a better look at what was going on. And I started to focus on this solenoid, which does keep the shifter in the locked park position when you have your ignition key in the on position. And in fact, in my car, now this is a new one in place, this is the old one, even though it's very slight, there's a little bit of sticking that goes on right here, just a little bit, and that is enough to keep that shift from happening. Now, the solenoid is held in place by a ball stud at the bottom. There's another one here at the top, and it's easily pried out of the shifter. But that's only the beginning of the problem. Where do you get one of these? Well, I called a lot of Chevy dealers. I looked all over the web. I had a lot of trouble finding something that looked like it was going to work. And then I came across a picture of a solenoid by Dorman. This is the part number, and it looked exactly like what I needed. But when I looked at the compatibility chart, it said it does not fit my car. But I decided to order it anyway and see what I could do with it. The first thing I noticed was that the ball link connector at the back of the solenoid was not oriented in the right position, but that was easily solved by just prying it out, rotating in the right position, and popping it back in. And then it fit into the shifter. So I'm going to show you by putting some power on the solenoid, which is what you do when you turn your ignition key on. It's in the locked park position. I cannot move it. Then I'm going to remove power, which is what you do when you step on the brake pedal, and I can easily make the shift. So then I started to wonder, is that the compatibility issue with this solenoid? For that, they would say it wouldn't fit the car. Then I noticed that this pin was not falling completely into its groove. Now, it did work and it did keep the shifter locked. But I was wondering why that would be. Then I noticed that by taking measurements, the new solenoid is about 3/16 of an inch longer than the old solenoid. And that was enough to keep that pin from dropping all the way into its groove. Again, it did work, but I wanted it to be right. So I wondered how I could compensate for that extra length in the new solenoid. And I noticed that there's some extra meat here at the top mount. So this hole here is where the ball stud originally was mounted. I drilled out the rivet and then re-drilled a hole here and moved the ball stud up 3/16 of an inch. I then had a friend of mine weld the ball stud in the new position. And as I showed you, it now works perfectly. So I'm very pleased that this worked out for my car. It turned out to be a good solution.